everyone. I now call to order the City of Cottonwood Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting, Monday, September 15, 2025 at 6 p.m. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Kennedy? Here. Commissioner Camillo? Commissioner Glasscock?
Present.
Commissioner Hellman? Here. Commissioner Rothrock? Present. And Chairwoman Maston?
Here. Just as a reminder to all the commissioners and for those of us who might be new and not accustomed to the microphones, you do need to pull them a little bit closer to you and speak into them while they're turned green so that they can be picked up by the live feed. Our first order of business is to approve the minutes for the meeting held Monday, August 18, 2025. Do any of the commissioners have any corrections or additions to the minutes from that meeting? All right. I move to approve the August 18, 2025 minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Unanimously carried. Our next order of business are informational reports and updates from staff. Mr. Director.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commission, good evening. First thing I'd like to do is welcome and introduce our new commissioners. First we have Beth Kennedy, and I'll give you a minute to say anything if you'd like to. No pressure.
My name is Beth Kennedy. I'm a resident here in Cottonwood, been a resident for over 30 years. I'm excited to be here and hopefully can add something worthwhile. Thank you.
And then we also have Kathy Hellman joining us.
Hi, I'm Kathy Hellman. I'm just really looking forward to being part of this commission and getting to work and getting to learn the codes and all the things that are associated with working on this commission. So thank you for this opportunity.
We're very glad to have you. We always appreciate new faces on the commission. I'm handing it back to the director.
I unfortunately have to hit the commission with some bad news. This is Clover's last meeting. She will be leaving us. So make sure you say goodbye. And I don't see our city manager, so that's all I have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Director. We are opening with a presentation.
Madam Chair, let me speak on that really quick, and then I'll ask Steve to go ahead and play a video. So this year at the American Planning Association's Arizona chapter conference, the city was nominated for and won the best general plan for its jurisdiction, population 49,999. So we got first place on that. We have an award here. I'll go ahead and pass it around. We just wanted to present that to you, and we'll present it to City Council tomorrow night as well. But we made a video for it that we'd like to have you watch that was played at the conference, so everybody got to see that.
Please play away.
Are our names inscribed?
No. We'll get it cleaned up again. And yes, Gary Davis did join us for that award.
All right.
He deserves it.
Yes.
Now you're safe to play it.
Madam Chair, that as you know, the general plan was done in-house and we beat out other cities that had consultants do theirs.
Nice.
It's a really well-deserved award. while I'll vamp for the video. But our staff is incredible, and they worked very hard on the general plan.
Yeah. Looks like there's a fire.
Cottonwood, Arizona. Founded in 1879 and incorporated in 1960, the Cottonwood Commercial Historic District reflects key areas of growth from the 1920s through the post-World War II period and was added to the National Register of Historic Places in 2000. Fast forward to today, Cottonwood spans 27.4 square miles and is home to over 12,600 residents. The city is known for its scenic beauty, vibrant community, and a unique mix of small-town charm and economic vitality. Cottonwood is the cultural and economic hub of the Verde Valley, known for its services and its growing reputation as the heart of Arizona wine country. At the same time, Cottonwood remains committed to preserving its cultural and natural resources, including the Verde River, Dead Horse Ranch State Park, its unique riparian habitat, and the historic district, ensuring a sustainable future for generations to come. As the city continues to grow, Cottonwood is shaping its future with intention. The City of Cottonwood's 2024 General Plan outlines a clear, forward-looking vision for the city's future, created with input from the community, leaders, and stakeholders. The updated plan is streamlined, user-friendly, and designed to support meaningful growth. The update process began in November 2022 with public outreach and was approved by voters in November of 2024. The plan is organized into 12 key elements, covering all essential topics to guide Cottonwood's development and priorities. One of the key improvements in Cottonwood's 2024 General Plan is its clarity and ease of use. Unlike previous versions, which were dense and difficult to navigate, the updated plan is concise, clearly written, and visually organized for broader accessibility. It uses plain language and presents goals in a way that directly supports the city's vision for growth, sustainability, and livability. The plan has been streamlined to focus on core values, realistic goals, and actionable strategies, removing outdated or repetitive content. The document now serves as a targeted functional tool for planning, investment, and community development. Designed to be a living framework, it guides timely decisions, adapts to changing priorities, and ensures alignment with City Council strategies. Complementing the general plan is the City Atlas, a dynamic, continually updated resource that provides mapping, demographic data, economic insights, and land use visuals. It helps bridge the gap between policy and place, allowing staff, developers, and residents to better understand real-time trends, challenges, and opportunities. Together, the 2024 General Plan and City Atlas serve as a modern planning toolkit, accessible, actionable, and grounded in Cottonwood's current needs while supporting the community's long-term goals. This user-focused approach guides responsible development, enhances quality of life, and protects the city's unique character for future generations.
Thank you very much for sharing that with us, and congratulations again to staff who worked incredibly hard.
And congratulations to the commission as well. You had a lot of input on that.
So now we have to get to work. We have 2 items of old business tonight, and just as a heads up to the crowd, we have a slightly unusual situation where we're going to be combining one old business item, it will be the second one, with a new business item, which is the first item of new business. I'll announce it at that point, but just giving you a heads up. And with that, I pass it off to staff to introduce ZO-25-006, Amendment to the City of Cottonwood Zoning Ordinance, Section 404, General Provisions, and Article 2, Section 201.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commission. I'm Tina Hayden, Senior Planner for City of Cottonwood. Please bear with me while I try to get out of this enlarged view. So tonight I will be presenting on the revisions to the proposed text amendment that we brought to this commission in July.
Since that meeting, we hadn't planned to bring it before the council, but some additional revisions were indicated, so we had to bring it back before you guys for another recommendation. So I won't go over the whole slideshow that I did last time. If you have any questions, I have those slides available. I'm just going to highlight the changes that were made since you last made that recommendation. The request now is that recommendation of approval for text amendments to Section 404 General Provisions and our Article 2, Section 201 Definitions. The purpose is to clarify ambiguous language, enhance standards and criteria where applicable, and enhance readability and flow. So the summary of revisions here. First, we made additional syntax changes to both Section 201 and 404. A lot of these changes were recommended by legal counsel, Mike Goodman here. Regarding Section 404G, we wanted to allow for accessory structures to be located closer than 10 feet to main buildings, subject to a list of standards to ensure safety. For subsection 404H, this is regarding building height. We wanted to reinforce that buildings exceeding 3 stories and allowed to deviate from using non-combustible materials are still subject to building code requirements, so fire-rated walls. This subsection 404H regarding wireless communication facilities, I do have marked, I apologize, I failed to put this into the attached document, that quick reference guide of changes. Here we are creating an additional provision for the evaluation of wireless communication structures with regards to public safety within the Verde Valley area. And this is just another mechanism for council when they're approving towers that exceed 60 feet up to that 90-foot mark. This is just another means for them to evaluate the proposal. And then the last change here in subsection 404J, we're indicating that the term fence references either a fence or wall for this subsection. Otherwise, it gets very reiterative. So, previous timeline we threw out the window. We came to you in July for that recommendation. You guys made that recommendation for approval. Tonight, we're having another public hearing requesting another recommendation. In October, we'll bring this before City Council for a public hearing and a vote. And if it's adopted, that ordinance will take effect 30 days from the date of adoption. That concludes my presentation. I'm ready for any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Tina. So just because we have some new commissioners with us this evening, I'm going to kind of explain what we're doing as we do it. Typically at this point in the presentation, I will go through and ask each commissioner individually if they have questions for staff. There will be a separate section, not in this case because this is an amendment, a text amendment, but if it were a typical proposal, there would be a separate opportunity to ask questions of the applicant, and I'll call on you by name. And we usually begin with the newest members. So Commissioner Kennedy, do you have any questions for city staff?
I do not.
Commissioner Hellman, do you have any questions for city staff?
No.
Commissioner Rothrock, do you have any questions for staff?
Thanks for the hard work.
And Commissioner Glasgow?
No questions.
All right, thank you very much. At this time, if there's anyone here from the public who wants to speak regarding these proposed amendments, now is the opportunity to come forward. If you do want to come forward and speak, please fill out one of the forms at the back. I'm not seeing anyone come forward, so I'm going to close the floor to the public. And now we have an opportunity to go back through the commissioners and see if anyone has any final thoughts that they'd like to share. I'll make eye contact with you. Do either of you have anything you'd like to share? Okay. Anything? All right. I'm not seeing the commissioners have anything they would like to share, so we are now ready to entertain a motion. Commissioner Rothrock, who's filling in for the vice chair this evening.
Thank you. I move to recommend City Council approval of ZO-25-006 related to the Section 404 and Article 2 of the city's zoning ordinance.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Unanimously carried. Next, we have DR-25-012 MOD. This is CTW Helicopter Hangars request for modified design review, and this is the somewhat unique old business. It's going to be combined with the next set of new business. So Commissioners, we will be voting on these one after the other after this presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commission. Presenting on a joint application for design review and conditional use permitting for living quarters for a hangar project that was previously approved in June of this year. The design review request is covering the modified building size and design, modified site changes to landscaping and circulation, and the parking proposal for unlisted uses, tourism, and accessory residential. The conditional use permit request is just covering the accessory residential use. The considerations tonight, we ask that you consider applicant's revised submittal and staff reports with recommended findings and stipulations. Some details, this is I-2 zoned heavy industrial. Here is our site map here. This is all one parcel, so the applicant has leased land area here. It's about 7.5 acres. The project site itself is in this striped area. It's approximately 2.3 acres. Again, in June, this was approved under DR 25006. Applicant does propose a variation to the approved parking requirements that were approved at that June meeting. They also propose the accessory residential use subject to the CUP approval. And then I have a couple slides kind of showing the before and after. What I've done is anything to the left I've tried to keep as the previous approval item, and then anything to the right is the updated version. So here we're looking at the site plan. You'll notice the new living quarters here and here, changes to the fence outline here, and then this new access road here with that gate. Those were the items that were clouded on the plans that were provided to staff. Here we have updated elevations. So updated is going to be on top here. You can see the residential building form here and here as opposed to its absence there. Some renderings here. Again, we've got the previous item here with no residential units there. And here they're added in right here and here. One last slide of renderings here. You can see the residential there and right there. And then the landscaping, they actually did increase a bit in this area here, and then some right here as well as right here for the addition of the living quarters. These are the proposed floor plans. So for Suite 1 and 2, which is the larger hangar building, they have a three-bedroom unit here, and then for Suite 3, which is the smaller building towards the southern portion of the leased land area, they've got 4 bedrooms in there. The applicant has indicated that there will be 1 bed per bedroom, which aligns with the parking proposal. These might seem familiar. These are the site views from the June submittal here. So here we have our street views. We're looking at intersection of Mingus and Happy Jack Way. Happy Jack Way here, looking south here. Then we have our site views. Here we've got a north view, another north view from further south. And then northeast looking across the way. And then adjacent sites, we have the Cottonwood Springs RV storage units here. So there is also an RV park further south. I think there's about 100 units developed, and they got approval to develop up to 500 units subject to additional design review. And then we have some city buildings here along Mingus. So just to recap on the design review considerations, we're looking at the modified building size and design, those site changes, and the parking proposal for unlisted uses. This chart's very similar to what's in the staff report here. where for the accessory office retail, per the schedule in our zoning ordinance, 7 spaces are required. Applicant proposes 7 spaces. For the warehousing and storage of aircraft, requirement is 5. Applicant's proposal meets that. But for these unlisted uses, that is subject to commission determination. At the June meeting, the tourism use was proposed for 9 spaces. Applicant is changing that to 2 spaces and then 7 spaces for the accessory residential. For the design review stipulations, we do propose 8 of them. I'm not going to read them word for word. I'll just touch on the highlighted areas here. So for stipulation 1, the project's developed in conformance with the development plans as approved at the June meeting and then this subsequent meeting. Stipulation 2, the project is conforming to the code review board comment letters that were issued. Stipulation 3, this mainly says that the proposed accessory residential use is not being approved with this design review. It's still subject to our Section 302 conditional use permits. Stipulation 4, project shall comply with all applicable sections of the zoning ordinance, specifically for the residential. While the property is zoned I2, it is subject to R3 property development standards. Stipulation 5, any lighting or signage indicated on the plans is for reference purposes only. Stipulation 6, the office, retail, and residential uses are considered accessory. Stipulation 7, building permit application must be submitted within 24 months of this approval. And then stipulation 8 is a little unique, where these are the parking requirements for the unlisted uses, and it's kind of a fill-in-the-blank section for the commission to state how many spaces for the tourism use and how many spaces for the accessory residential use. Moving on to the conditional use permit portion, in order for the commission to approve a conditional use permit, they have to make 3 sets of findings. The first one is general findings, that the proposed use shall not be detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare of the surrounding properties or occupants. In the staff report, staff does propose that the residential use for flight crew is not expected to be detrimental to the surrounding properties and occupants. We have the RV park that's across the way. And then also the use is considered an accessory use solely for flight crew. It's not a multifamily residential or single-family residence. Findings of fact for compatibility with surrounding uses. The project shall be compatible with surrounding uses in the vicinity. The residential use is considered a low-intensity use compared to the high-intensity permitted uses of the I2 zone. And then the aggregate building area intended for the use of the residential is approximately 3,900 square feet. This is about 25% of the building area and 4% of that 2.3-acre portion of the site. The last finding of facts is regarding traffic and circulation, that there's adequate access to public streets and highway, and that it shall be provided in a manner which is adequate, safe, efficient, and convenient. The main drive will be aligned with the driveway on the other side of Happy Jack Way, as you can see in the proposed site plan. And then the second driveway is proposed for access by flight crew and emergency services. Now, this one applicant is proposing to have to phase out with further development of that northern section that's closer to Mingus. So that won't be subject to these approvals. Then in the staff report for the conditional use permits, here's the recommended stipulations. Stipulation 1, the project's developed in conformance with the plans approved tonight. Stipulation 2 conforms to the code review board comment letter that was issued for this proposal. Stipulation 3, the residential use is considered accessory. Stipulation 4, this one grants the extension for the conditional use permit. Typically, its applicant has 6 months to pursue a conditional use permit from the date of approval. Since they have not submitted permits or broken ground, this just allows them to pursue the use once they get certificate of occupancy. And then stipulation 5, the use is subject to the parking requirements indicated in the design review approval. That concludes my presentation. I'm ready for any questions you may have. I also have the applicant present for any questions as well.
Thank you very much, Tina. I'm going to take this moment to very briefly re-clarify, even though you already stated it, that what we are deciding tonight is whether the accessory use of the residential is allowed. We are not deciding the helicopter placement and also the number of parking spaces. With that, Commissioner Kennedy, do you have any questions for staff?
I do not.
Commissioner Hellman, any questions?
No.
Thank you. Commissioner Rothrock, any questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Glasscott, any questions?
No questions.
All right. Thank you very much, Tina. Could we have the applicant come forward?
Yes, definitely.
Please introduce yourself for the record.
Commission. Jack Kemmerly, Grand Canyon State Development.
Thank you for coming back again.
Of course.
I'm going to open the commission up to ask any questions they have, but then if they don't cover what I want to cover, I have some. Commissioner Kennedy, any questions for the applicant? Please make sure you press it.
No questions.
Commissioner Hellman, any questions?
No.
Commissioner Rothrock?
Is what's the purpose of the live-in or the facilities so people can be sleeping there?
Yeah, so we're moving Native Air over to this facility. They're currently in the EAA quarters, which is the Experimental Aircraft Administrators Association. It's like a nasty double wide that these poor people are living in. And this is there's 2 shifts a day. So you have a pilot, you have an EMT, and a nurse, and typically a safety officer. And so you have 3 people on shift for 2 12-hour shifts per day. And those people are training, eating, mostly sleeping. So they're just kind of waiting around a radio, essentially, waiting for our call. If there's a car accident I think the big one in the paper was the 169 rollover accident. That was Native Air that went and saved those people. And so, yeah, they're just waiting on a call pretty much. And they're averaging about 20 calls a month currently. And since they came into the market, the response times were pretty bad in the Verde Valley. They were about 30, 35 plus minutes. Since they entered the market, and it's now them and Guardian, we're down in that 14-minute range. And now that we build this proper facility for them, right now they do not have a hangar. The living quarters are very suboptimal for them to operate efficiently and serve our community. And so, yeah, this is going to get us hopefully into that 10-minute mark or sub 10-minute mark. And that equates typically per every minute you're saving about 0.7 lives per every minute of response time that you can cut down. So that's kind of the goal with this. And obviously for Sonoma Air Tours as well, they have, the other use here is mechanics. You typically have mechanics coming out of Phoenix, you have mechanics coming out of Williams, Flagstaff, to operate and maintain each one of these aircraft. These aircraft are $4.5 million, $5 million, brand new, and so it takes a team of mechanics in a well-lit, proper hangar, and that's what we do not have right now at the airport. So if you guys go out there and look, if you drive down that Air Park Road, the end of that AAA, they're just parked right there on the apron and on the asphalt, and it's like 140 degrees. And they'll still be parked outside on the pad, so they can keep those response times down. But yeah, it really gives them a proper facility to serve us.
Sounds like it's overdue.
It'll be a great addition.
Commissioner Glasscott, any questions?
Yeah, just with all the additions of living quarters, to be prepared for, like, the garbage that they'll accumulate?
Yeah, there's, on the site plan, you guys will see on that, yeah, you'll see the dumpster, and yeah, we'll have regular service, obviously, for that. And those will be typically about a 6-yard dumpster that we'll clear out every week. Obviously, when they move in, we'll be doing it every day, if the box is generated, you name it. So, yeah, there will be a proper refuse facility.
I saw that you asked for 7 and 2 parking spots for the 2 uses. What math did you use to decide on that number of spots?
Yeah, so if you guys look at SFL, sheet S, may I move back in? Is that all right? can I go to the webpage? Where you guys
just the
posted?
presentation.
Okay. If you guys go to sheet SFL 1.0 and look at the parking calculation, we had always assumed that these living quarters were part of this. If you go look at that original staff report for when we were approved on June 16th, we were overparked by 11 spaces. And it did not show living quarters there, but it's the same exact layout, as you can see. We were always considering those living quarters. We just wanted to go through the by right process first for the hangar property to keep things moving, because we're already at civil plans right now. And so it just keeps things moving, because these guys the land lease was already approved. The ground lease was approved by council in November of 2024. And so the clock's ticking. We're spending about $10,000 a month just in ground lease and carry. So, yeah, that just keeps us moving, but it was always considered from a parking standpoint. If you look at our parking calculations, we're technically still overparked by 4 spaces. If you look at, even considering a normal residential unit, I believe it's, Mr. Ellis, I believe it's about 2 spaces per residential unit.
That is correct.
We're providing 1 space per bed. And so it's quite a bit more in that regard, which is absolutely, we're happy to do. And so, but again, if you go back and look at what was approved, we were overparked by 11 spaces then and are still overparked by 4 spaces here.
All right, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Last call for questions from the commission? Yes, go ahead, Commissioner Glassbach.
You say there might be tourism,
Yeah.
so that, part of that parking is for tourists coming?
Yeah, so the whole north portion of the parking lot, you see that green space right here, if you guys can see my cursor.
Yep.
This will be the retail area, and so you walk in, you check in for a flight. Sedona Air Tours has been operating in the Verde Valley since 1992, and so right now they're in your guys' terminal. Right when you walk in on the right, they got a desk right there, so general public parks in right there. We're moving them 1,000 feet to the southwest, away from residential uses, even better, and this gives them that check-in space, a proper counter, and then there's a waiting room there, and they can kind of look outside and say, oh, this looks cool. The kids get all excited, and so bathrooms and a waiting area, and then offices. So it moves Sedona Air Tours out of your guys' terminal, frees up that space. I mean, they're only paying like a couple $100, I believe, in rent. So, but this moves them over here and gets them a proper space for offices and a retail area, as well as the waiting room. And then obviously the purple hangar is where those aircraft get operated on and maintained. So,
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I believe that that's good. Thank you very much. We will let you know if we have any further questions.
appreciate it.
At this time, there is an opportunity for anyone from the public who would like to share thoughts about this project to come forward. I'm seeing one person. I haven't gotten a form yet, so if you could just...
Can I speak before I fill it out?
And you can fill that out and give that to us after you speak. Please introduce yourself for the record.
Diane Schneider, Clarkdale.
Yes?
I'm hoping that I can ask this gentleman further questions because they were not asked. So
Legally, he cannot reply.
he can't. Who then can my questions would be the flight training practice patterns. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be that. There's always practice in case there's no calls. And, you know, I find it odd because the city I'm from, you know, just a few bigger hospitals. And each day was a different hospital for the trauma. I don't understand why they're not at the hospital because you always transport patients to the hospital. They take off from the hospital, they leave the hospital. So I don't even know why this, and they're combining with tourism. So my concern, of course, in that I'm a victim of the constant airplane noise from Rumby River, the other training, so I'm going to be hearing now helicopters, I guess. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
I'm happy to address that. No problem.
We typically do not do that. Thank you, though. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward? And I'm not seeing anyone else come forward from the public. Since we're just going over operational stuff today, I will just remind the public that calls to the public are an opportunity for the public to engage in the civic process. We listen to what the public has to say, and we are always very thankful for the public that come forward to speak at our meetings. However, our rules of engagement prohibit us from directly responding to public questions. And now we are going back through the commission to get additional thoughts and also a last chance for commissioners to ask any final questions. We will start with Commissioner Kennedy.
This is for Mr. Kemmerly. So it's not like an additional amount of helicopters, it's the current helicopters that are
Please
coming and
answer at the
going.
mic.
That's correct. So if you look at the noise report that was last published in May of 2024, you had 159 operations of helicopter air traffic out of the total 6,000 plus or minus. If you look at that LOI on the submittal package, we're about 20 operations or calls for native air, and they've been around for about 3 years at Cottonwood Airport. And so that's 20 a month. So they leave 20, come back 20, so 40 total. And then Sedona Air Tours is averaging 24. And again, they've been operating since 1992 in the Verde Valley. And so that makes up a total of about 1.3% of your existing air traffic total per month of the 6,000 plus, which is obviously, it's mostly flight training with that. So, and again, per that staff report, this is not a flight training project. This is this phase that we're talking about. In latter phases, we are not trying to rent to Embry-Riddle. That's not the goal here. So, yeah, that's the existing air traffic is 1.3%, and that's not going to increase. And those don't really go over Clarkdale that much at all. They go straight east over McCain's house at 500 feet, and decibel ratings are about 85 decibels, which if you look at like a Harley-Davidson chopper, those are like 100 decibels. If you look at a fire truck, those are like 120 decibels. And so those are happening quite a bit more per day, or barely one per day if you average out per month. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Any questions from Commissioner Hellman? Or comments?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Questions or comments from Commissioner Rothrock?
No, thank you.
All right. Commissioner Glasgow? All right. Thank you very much. I will sum it up. I know that at times, air traffic can be touchy in the Verde Valley. However, EMS is a very important service, and this is not a new service. It's just a new facility for an existing service. And again, we are not approving the actual helicopter facility because this is a heavy industrial zone, so the helicopters are by right permitted. What we are approving is the residential use and then the parking for the residential use and the very small amount of tourism use. So with that, I would like to entertain a motion.
I move to approve DR-25-012 to allow the proposed modifications to the previously approved DR-25-006, subject to the stipulations indicated in the staff report and specifying the parking requirements of stipulation 8 as follows. Tourism parking requirement shall be two spaces. Accessory residential parking requirements shall be 7 spaces.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Thank you very much. All those in favor? Aye. Unanimously carried. Next, we have to do the conditional use permit that is adjacent to that. I'm ready for a motion, so immediately go into the next one.
No. Okay, I move to approve CUP-25-004 to allow living quarters in I-2 Heavy Industrial Zone, subject to the stipulations indicated in the staff report.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Unanimously carried. Thank you very much. That was our first item. That was our first item of new business. We have one more item of new business this evening, and that is CUP-25-005. Clover, is this your last item of new business?
Yes, it
We
is.
should play taps.
All right, let's see, slideshow, start from the slide, where is it? Front slide. All right, there we go. All right, Madam Chair, Commissioners, thank you for being here. I'm Clover Pinion with Community Development, and tonight I will be presenting on conditional use permit 25005 for the mole care fence, which is located in a front yard setback of a residential neighborhood. The request is, the applicant's request is for the approval of a conditional use permit, again, to allow a 5.5-foot tall, 3-rail blackwood fence in a front yard setback. We ask that you consider the applicant's submittal, along with the staff report and the staff report that has the recommended stipulations, also along with our findings, which I will detail later on in presentation. Couple details, it's an AR-43. For those areas, those parcels in that zone, the minimum size is 1 acre. So this parcel in particular is just a little over the 1.06 acres. Again, it's a black 3-rail see-through wood fence, which according to our ordinance is allowed with a conditional use permit, not to go any higher than 6 feet, but as long as the top 2 feet are see-through. They can apply, they would qualify. This is our site map. You can see there it's located close to 4th and 10th Street. All the properties around it are also AR-43, and all the uses currently for all those properties are single-family residential. This is the site map. You can see in the bottom there, the red line indicates where the fence is along that front property line. It's approximately 150 feet long. This is the colored elevation. These are the colored renderings. Just some views from the site. So this is north down 10th Street. And then this is to the east, looking at the property. And we have the south down 10th Street, and then across the street to the west. Again, we do have to report our findings here. So the first one, we just want to make sure that this project would not be detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare of any of the surrounding properties or occupants. And we have found that the applicant's project complies with Section 404J4A and the general provisions of the zoning ordinance. Again, it's a 5.5-foot tall see-through wood fence, and we do not think it would adversely affect the neighboring properties. Required finding 2 of 3, the compatibility with surrounding uses. All the properties, like I said before, that are adjacent to or across from this project are all zoned AR-43. And again, we feel like this 5-foot tall see-through wood fence would be a compatible use. Oops. All right. So this is in regards to the traffic and circulation. Again, we do not feel like this fence would affect any traffic generation, access, or circulation. Next are the stipulations. We just asked that the project be developed in conformance with the site plan and letter of intent that were submitted and then hopefully approved at tonight's meeting. Fence permit application submittal is required. And then we just asked that the project comply with all applicable sections of our zoning ordinance. And that concludes my presentation. If you guys have any questions.
Thank you very much, Clover. Commissioner Kennedy, do you have any questions for Clover regarding the fence?
I have no questions. I believe it's a really attractive project. I drove over there, and it's really a nice addition to the neighborhood.
Commissioner Hellman, do you have any questions?
No.
Thank you. Commissioner Rothrock, any questions?
No, thank you.
Commissioner Glasscock?
No questions.
All right. Does anyone from the public want to speak regarding this proposed project? I'm not seeing anyone come forward, so I'm now closing the floor to the public. I do not believe the commissioners will have any final thoughts on this. No. Okay. All right. I am ready for a motion.
I hope I am too.
You're doing great.
I move to approve CUP 25-005 to allow a 5.5 foot tall 3-rail blackwood fence in an AR 43 zone, subject to the stipulations indicated in the staff report.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you very much. All those in favor? Aye. Unanimously carried. Now we have call to the public. This is the public's opportunity to come forward and address the commission on any planning and zoning related item that was not on the agenda this evening. If you would like to speak, you must fill out one of the forms located near the front door, and speakers will be granted 3 minutes each. And please introduce yourself with your name for the record.
Thank you, Madam Commissioner. There weren't forms at the front, but I'm happy to fill one out after I speak.
Oh, sure. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Forgiven. My name is Joseph Giotto. I just wanted to briefly introduce myself to you good people. I'm a local school teacher, a proud resident of Cottonwood for 12 years. I've been teaching for 25 years. I work over in Cornville. And as you likely know, it's pretty challenging to find nice homes for school teachers and whatnot. So I have it on my heart to develop a couple of duplexes and just nice, moderately priced homes for teachers and first responders and nurses. I'm totally new to it, so I'm just here to say hello and just tell you I'm excited to work in Cottonwood. I am a proud resident, as I said, of Cottonwood. I checked in with the good people behind me at the Cottonwood Planning and Zoning. They're totally professional, prompt, and cheerful. I mean, they answer a million questions. You can tell I don't know, what I'm doing here, as you could probably already assess that. But I'm not a developer, I'm not big money, I'm just a local guy who wants to improve the community and generate some income for my own family. So I'm just here to thank you for being on the commission, introduce myself, and that's about it. I did hear about some National Housing Supply Accelerator program. That sounds pretty cool. I'd like to know more about it. But just thanks so much for working on the commission. I hope to do some work with you folks, and God bless you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to come forward? Okay. I do not see anyone else coming forward, so I am now going to move on and close the floor to the public. We do have one discussion item this evening. This is a discussion of the Arizona legislative updates. There are going to be changes to the City of Cottonwood zoning ordinance and subdivision ordinance in response to legislative updates. Staff.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commission. This is kind of a follow-up from last month when we presented the Commission all the legislative changes that affect us and what we can do, the biggest one being the inability to bring design review projects to a public hearing. So we went through the design review section of the ordinance, kind of did strike-throughs on anything that referenced bringing to the Commission, changed it with staff. We also did that with the subdivision ordinance. Because as you know, that includes preliminary and final plats as well. So we had to go through there, and I apologize, it is a mess right now. We tried to give you the section of the subdivision ordinance that's applicable to and highlight it. that takes away even city council's ability to approve plats as well. So they're not just skipping over this commission and going straight to city council. It all has to be done at staff level. So I did include in your packet a guide from the League of Arizona Cities and Towns talking about design review standards and objective standards and examples. Running through the examples, they basically have to be measurable. Running through it, I don't know if you had a chance to or not, but some of what they're giving examples in there, we do already have in place. Some of the things with landscaping and open space and various things, but hopefully you had a chance to look through it, recommend to us any changes that you might think are relevant for design review. Subdivision ordinance, there's not a lot we can do. We've kind of thrown around the idea. Of course, this is something we'd have to run by city council as well to get their take on it. Just to get a plat in front of you so you can at least see it. You wouldn't be able to take action on it. Could a development agreement come before you and then you make a recommendation to council on that development agreement associated with a plat? Gets us able to show you the plat. Not that we couldn't do so after the fact, after staff approves it, but just some ideas to talk about, throw around out there. We have our legal counsel here to direct some of that as well if he's got any concerns with what might be suggested or any ideas in addition to what we talk about.
Thank you very much, Mr. Director. Because this is a discussion item, we can speak more freely. We're not going to go through and individually give opportunities for speaking. You can kind of just have a conversation with the staff and with council as needed to understand. So at this point, if you want to turn your mics on, if anyone has any questions or comments, I know that the existing sitting commissioners, we've already discussed this a little bit with staff, but we do have 2 new commissioners with us tonight that may have questions.
Madam Chair, I would like to throw in really quick as well. We're looking at bringing kind of more of a draft to approve at the November meeting, just so we have time to work on it. So we're not rushing to get something through for October. But that's not to say that we still can't bring something back in October that's a little more fine-tuned than what you see right now to discuss also. The only other thing is we had a meeting last week with all the different community development departments in the valley here, and everybody's pretty much in the same boat. We're all asking, hey, what are your objective standards going to look like? I don't know yet what are yours going to look like. So we're all in the same boat right now.
Is there any way that we can go back through, I mean, I know that we don't keep minutes that are this precise, but go back through previous design reviews and look for common design standards that have popped up in approved design reviews to standardize those common approved standards?
We could, might take some substantial staff time to do so.
Not trying to kill us.
But I can, kind of just, from my years here, I can say, in my experience, we've had commissions that are really big on kind of a river rock look for some facades. I know a number of years ago, we made changes to freestanding signs have to look like monument-style signs. We got rid of pole signs, so you can't see them up on a pole anymore. They've got to be lower to the ground and more that monument style. So yeah, there is some standards that have taken place over the years, but we could maybe go back and track down some of the bigger design review projects and see what those look like.
I just think we do have a precedent to work with, and maybe we should at least look at it, since that's part of creating standards. We may not agree with it now, but...
Yeah, I think if we focus on probably some of the bigger projects that have come through.
Not everything.
Right, but, and other things that are coming to mind would be, like the wall on the Circle K that's existing on the west side there to keep headlights at bay. We've seen that in some other projects as well, some drive-throughs especially. I think Dutch Bros has that requirement, so we definitely keep that kind of stuff in there.
Yeah, I definitely think something that has come up before with almost all drive-throughs is striping and then a wall. We may as well standardize that,
Right.
yeah.
I concur.
Yeah, I realize that this is a lot of work, and I'm looking at it, and there's so much change that, just speaking as a commissioner, I don't really have a good sense of how it's going to look. So, and I'm sure that that's because it's sort of up in the air.
Yeah, and we can look more through the league's guidance, kind of compare and contrast what we already have exactly and specifically. Some of what's in here, though, is not necessarily going to fall in the design review section of the ordinance. That section of the ordinance more is process-related for design review versus actual requirements. The actual requirements come in the form of our landscape ordinance, our parking ordinance, the development standards for the zone that they're in. So this isn't going to necessarily just be a change to the design review section. It's going to be a change to several other sections as well.
I believe it.
I have a question. So, I'm reading, I was perusing through this huge pile of paper.
Sorry, Commissioner Rothrock, could you speak in your microphone, please?
Nope.
You can bend it. Oh, maybe
I
not.
don't bend too easily.
Yeah.
So, and I was looking at page 27, general provisions, performance standards, and it talked about maximum sound levels. So, can we apply this to vehicles on the street?
That becomes a PD enforcement issue, so I can't speak on that.
That's too bad. Okay, and so what's going to happen here when 89 and Vine or some huge project like that shows up again?
As far as the design standards or the plating?
You're not going to like the answer.
Pardon?
It's not good. In both cases, wouldn't it just pass through staff only?
Yeah, so it pretty much all would pass through staff. Unfortunately, that's just the way that project's going to go. Even, I don't remember if this was mentioned last time, when we bring a conditional use permit project to you, as you know, sometimes they're combined design review and conditional use permit. You're only going to be able to look at specifically the conditional use permit aspect of it, not the design standards of it. So, yeah, even 89 in Vine right now, once this all goes through, there's not really much that would come here.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So while you're reviewing it through staff, is it posted on any kind of a platform where the public is looking at it, or council is looking at it, or?
We have talked about that internally, and we're going to start posting projects on the website. From the time, it's not set in stone how we're going to do it, but we'll look at posting them as soon as we have an actual complete application that we consider complete. Means we have everything we need to start the review. And we'll leave it posted until it's approved, or potentially, we'll figure out some kind of timeline after approval to leave it up. As far as comments go, I'd ask Mike Goodman here to chime in if I say something wrong, but the way I see it is we won't delay a project to accept comments, but we'll put them on the website, and as we're reviewing it, if people comment on it, we'll address their comments, whether it's responding to them or, whatever they may have to say similar to this meeting, but we can't hold up a project to give people a chance to comment.
Otherwise, you would be inundated with people calling or emailing or coming to your office to ask questions.
And they may do so. I think we don't really have much of a mechanism other than posting a project portion on our website to put these on.
And if I may shed a little more light on that, if we step back and we look at, why do we have this now? How did we get here? Part of it is because of the public process, projects that get slowed down by it, confusion, any sorts of ambiguity, all those things that are thought to slow down the process to go from, nothing to something built. And living in is considered what we're trying to avoid here. And so keeping that in mind, a lot of the work comes in, and most of the work comes up in the front end, where we're setting these objectives, design standards and whatnot, so that there's less ambiguity later. Now, that won't avoid all the public comment or anything like that, but that is part of the reason that we're going this route. And it's not that we've decided to do it, it's that we're being told that we must.
Yeah, so this has happened a couple times before, just to give context to our newer commissioners. So anytime the Arizona State Legislature makes a law that applies statewide, that filters down, and we have to abide as a municipality by that law, and we don't really have any wiggle room. There's a little bit of interpretation for some things, but for this particular thing, there's very little interpretation, is my understanding. Council can correct me about that.
That's about right. If it applies to us, we've got to abide.
Yeah. So, I know that these meetings are broadcast, and I know that there may be some questions about why this is happening. I want it to be really clear that this is not coming from Cottonwood City staff. It is not city staff who are proposing that they take upon themselves all design review and plat approval. It is actually a directive from the state legislature, and staff are responding legally, as they should, to that directive, and they're informing us of that change and preparing us for it.
One other question. Can we do things such as require or offer perks, so to speak, maybe increased density? In return, if the development has water retention capability, porous roads, parking, in other words, we provide an incentive to have a better development made. Is that something we can do?
I won't address specifically what we can and cannot do as far as incentivizing development, because that's a whole different process. But for large projects and things of that sort, it's not uncommon for development agreements to be the thing that's controlling a lot of this from the outset. I think we've had projects come before the board here for the design review portion that were all part of a larger development agreement, that's been in years in place. As things change, more of those things will shift to being considered up front, potentially, not necessarily, but maybe, and become part of that process so that that is already dictated, or there's some other details of that dictated. And again, this is just a possibility. I'm not saying we can or cannot do that. But in sorts of agreements like that, we do have mechanisms to incentivize things for the public good. And so when it comes up, we'll address it more specifically, or we could do that at a different time, but that's beyond the scope of this. There are ways to do that, not necessarily through the design review process or the administrative review process, though.
Thank you.
Thank you. Actually, Bob, did you notice that in the document that was provided to give us examples of yes/no standards, they actually included a water-wise example in there? Talking about landscaped areas of single-family residential and multifamily and mixed use. It's right here.
Yes, well, I have to say that since I
Oh, yeah.
Got this pile
You got the
of
big
papers
packet.
just this morning. I didn't get to,
Everything.
get to read it word for word.
That's okay. I just thought you might like it. You can go look for it. Because it is an example of one of the things, like when the director is talking about things that we can propose be set as standards.
Yeah.
You know, you could look at that, or I could, or any of us could look at that and propose it as a standard and work with staff to come up with a standard that maybe uses that as inspiration and is appropriate for Cottonwood.
Cool.
So as much as this kind of feels like it might have some negative aspects, I do think that there is an opportunity to craft standards that are clearer and will help developments move faster. And in general, Cottonwood staff have done a good job working with developers for the good of the city, so I think we're in better shape than some other municipalities. Are there any other comments from the commission regarding this discussion? Please always feel like you can say whatever.
Yeah, just, obviously, this is gonna put more workload on you guys. I think I asked this last time, are you gonna work something in the budget, add new staff?
Probably not this time around. We'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens with this first. So moving forward, Madam Chair, Commission, please chime in if you'd like to see something else. What we'll do from here is, as you suggested, go back and look at some other design review projects, maybe over the last couple of years, see what consistent comments have been made. We'll go through the league's guidance here, see what we have, what maybe we can adjust, and then bring something back to you to further review, and we get this fine-tuned for that recommendation to council in November.
Thank you very much. Now we are moving on to suggested topics. It's just an opportunity for commissioners to suggest topics for future meetings. No topics suggested right now. I make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.